This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine. Jimmy was the best. When it came to getting a story, Jimmy was a photojournalist in a class by himself, a stringer for the tabloids. He could put together a story like no one else. One day, Jimmy got a lead on a bunch of UFO nuts out in the New Mexico desert at this Area 51 place. They're saying that a UFO crashed there back in '47 and that the Army had the spaceship and the aliens locked away on ice that night. Jimmy was scoping out Area 51, a few square miles of scrub desert with some tumble-down Quonset huts and a couple of weather-beaten airplane hangars. The whole pile of worthless real estate was surrounded by a gleaming stainless steel chain link and barbed wire fence and camera. To a guy like Jimmy, where a keep out sign is a welcome mat, a setup like this was an engraved invitation. He broke out his gear, found a dry gully, hid the car under a pile of tumbleweeds, and set out on foot. Then he used his alligator clips to bypass the deadly electrified fence. Piece of cake. The hangar where the space stuff was stashed was a couple of 100 yards from the fence. From a distance, it looked like a breeze would knock it over. But up close, solid as a rock. A titanium reinforced rock. So, he slipped his skeleton key into the lock. The door swung open, and he was in. He quietly shut the door and surveyed the inside of the hangar as he adjusted the night vision goggles. There were things there in the hangar. It was difficult to make out the strange shapes through the goggles. These things were obviously a product of a superior alien technology. The pictures would be worth a fortune. He kept snapping away. The infrared film would pick up all of the detail. Suddenly, Jimmy must have tripped an alarm, or maybe they found the car. Quickly, he rewound and unloaded the film and hid it in the cuff of his pants, then reloaded and kept shooting. That's how the MPs found him. They ripped the film out of the camera and marched Jimmy to the guardhouse. But if they arrested him, it would mean them telling something about this place to the local cops. So they let Jimmy go. He jumped in the car and hightailed it out of there. Now, Jimmy, not being one to waste time, was on the phone as he drove. He whipped the editors of the tabloids into a frenzy for his exclusive pictures of the alien spacecraft. He pulled into the paper's parking lot, presented the editor with a precious film canister, and collected a very heavy suitcase full of green stuff. They ran the canister to the photo lab, where it was scanned into the paper's mainframe computer. Then it was emailed to the print department, and 2 hours later, newspapers hit the streets all across the country. One small problem. No one had actually bothered to look at Jimmy's pictures before they were printed. Jimmy never even actually saw what he was photographing. So you can imagine the uproar when Jimmy's pictures of an alien spaceship turned out to be the Army's new top-secret potato peeler. Of course, Jimmy was fired. So, a few months later, Jimmy was working as a private detective. He was tailing this businessman and his girlfriend through the museum, taking pictures for the guy's wife to use in her divorce case. Jimmy was snapping, and when he backed up to get a better view, he bumped into a big display case. He turned, and that's when he came face to face with an old friend. It was the alien and its spaceship from Roswell, New Mexico, hidden away in plain sight where no one would ever find it. Hey, it's a true story. It happened to a friend of mine, Jimmy. Turns out the spaceship had been right there, in the museum since about 1947. But Jimmy can't tell anyone. Who would believe it?